Hello adventurer, welcome to SCARTHQuEST. Today is day 3 of C programming in Take From Zero series, and today we'll be learning about the very basic of C. So let's start. So we all know C is a programming language. A programming language is a way we can communicate with computer to give instruction. C programming is one of the high level programming language. It is one of the most popular and still used programming language, as it is used to build system. It is used to build operating system and many more things. So we can imagine the importance of C programming. Let's start off our journey of learning C programming with me with understanding the format of C programming. So let's start. Here you can see the basic structure of programming. At first, you can see different word letter. A hashtag include some greater than stdio or something like it, ab, int mem, bracket, lot of stuff. At first, it looks very confusing. Well, it is, but is nothing to be afraid of. In my opinion and in my understanding, this programming language is similar to understanding or learning other language. If I'm learning a Chinese language, I must learn what their verb are, what how to speak, what letter means in Chinese to be able to speak in Chinese. Similar to that, we need to understand the basic of code. We need code to be able to code in C. So in my journey of C programming, I want to learn C not as an subject but as a language to communicate with the computer. That must be in your mind. We are trying to communicate with the computer, and while trying to communicate with computer, we must be precise and be able to communicate with computer if there is a single mistake. Just like how we misunderstand some communication, computer can also get misunderstand and cause an error. So as a C programming is a hyper sensitive language, we must be correct, in some part. There are some things that we must remember, but the main thing we must know in this journey is be able to communicate with the computer and understand how to communicate. Don't remember, understand. Remember the fundamental things, just like how we remember verbs and basic stuff to communicate, understand that. But to communicate, don't remember. You don't remember simple stuff like I can go to home. You don't remember the code, right? You don't remember the sentence. Similar to that, don't remember the code but understand it. I hope you do that. So let's start our journey of understanding the C programming with understanding the structure. So here you see a bunch of letters. Let's start understanding by deciphering it one by one. First of all, I will correct my mistake here. So here in first line, you can see here a thing called include your studio.h. Let's understand what this is. This thing in top is called header file. What is a header file, you may ask? Well, it is a file with bunch of predefined function. Now we maybe again be confused, asking what is a function, what is a predefined function. A function is like a mini program within your main program. It is a block of code that performs a specific task. So it is like a remote control or a remote that does a specific task. It is function is like creating a remote for a specific task. So for example, I can create a remote control for making a tea, for making a black tea on the remote, for making a milk tea. I create another remote. So it is function is like create function is a block of another code inside a code that does a specific task. We'll learn about function later on, as it is a much more complex topics, but this is a basic understanding of function. function is like a block of code that does a specific task. It's like creating a remote that does a very specific job. Now let's understand what is a predefined function is. So the header file is like a library. In the library you will find a bunch of book. These books are basically function. The library is the header file, and the books are the function. The books are inside the library, and just like that, function are inside the header file. So these book, which are basically function, you can either write a book or write a book or read a book that is already in the library. The book you read in the library that is already in the library is called predefined functions, and the books that you have write is called user defined function. These two are the function used in programming, and the one we use in header file are the predefined function which are already defined when making the programming language. So when C programming was made, programmer already had a file made where there were bunch of function or predefined function written in it. So so rather than creating a function ourselves to use, C programmer made this file where you had bunch of predefined function, but it didn't have like all of the function. It just included those function which will be used a lot of time. So in this include stdio.h, this include hashtag include tells us to include the function, the file in the code. So when we first write this code, it tells the computer to include the function that are in this file in the. So when we write this code, we are telling computer to include stdio.h, which is a file, and inside the file there are a bunch of functions. So we are telling the computer to include the functions that are inside the file, the stdio.h. It is a file with a predefined function. There are various type of header files where there are different many predefined functions. Some of them, the main one we are using stdio, which is used for taking input and output, just like printf, scanf. There is conio, which is for console input and output. This is a different one. For math.h for taking mathematical things. For site, for character handling functions. So there are bunch of files, so programmer made bunch of files that we use a lot of time. You may ask, why do we even use this header file? Why do we use the predefined function made by the programmer? So imagine it like having to write a book each time you have to use it. It is a headache. When you go to library, you can easily read the book that is already written or take the book which is already written. That's why that's the use of predefined function. So that's why we use the header file. It has a bunch of predefined functions that we ultimately use a lot of time. For taking input output, you use the header file stdio.h. So here you can see we have used printf and scanf. These are the mini function. These are the predefined function. So for example, if there was no header file, for printf and scanf to take input and give output, we had to make a separate function ourselves to do that. That is a headache. That's why this include stdio.h is needed. It automatically tells computer to include printf and scanf these predefined function. It makes programming easier, faster, and that's why we use it. Now let's go to our another line, that is int main. Now let us understand about the second line, int main. Int main is just like a gate that tells the computer when to start and when to end. So in here, as you can see, in int main there is a curly bracket. In every C programming you can see the main, a curly bracket and a curly bracket at the end. It doesn't matter either programming we have just wrote is a very simple one or a very complex one that is made a game. It doesn't matter, these is needed. The main is the one thing is a very important thing, as it tells the computer, okay, start the program. Now this int you see here is closely written to the return 0, as the int tells when to end and what to expect in the end. The int especially tells the computer to expect integer at the last of the program. The main is the stuff that tells computer when to start. It is found in every C programming language. You can substitute int with void too. Void means there is no return. So if you write void in instead of int in the program, it is also okay. But if you write void, you cannot write return 0. Void is written in programming language where there is no return type and there is no integer type stuff, but it is more useful to write int main and return 0. Let me tell you why. So as we have discussed, the int tells to expect an integer at last, and return 0 does the task of telling the computer that it has returned a 0. Let us understand how does a return 0 tells that a computer program has run successfully. So we all know that computer reads program from top to bottom. So after include stdio where file is get, the int main is read, so program starts. Then int ab, printf, scanf, printf. So program is read from top to bottom. If there is any error at left, for example printf, the scanf wouldn't start. The scanf wouldn't give any result. If there is error in the upper line, the bottom line would give an error too. So if all the code get correct at the top, only then the bottom one gets correct. So in here the return 0 is at last. For a code to be successful, all this code must be correct. If the code inside the int the main is correct, then return 0 will activate. It will return an integer. So hence it will tell computer, oh, it has written 0. So hence the code has worked. In here, to give you a summary, the I in int main, the main tells, oh, start coding, and it is start coding, and the int tells us to expect an integer at last, so that we know the program has ran successfully. It reached the first line, correct. It reached the second line, correct. It reached the third line, correct. And then after reading this three line, we know that the program has run successfully. As it goes to return 0, it returns 0 to the computer, and as computer reads an integer, it tells we know that a computer has run successfully. So the part of int is to expect 0 at last. Return 0 plays the part of returning the 0. so that we know that program has run successfully. The main part is to start the program. Now let's learn about the third line. Now the third line is this thing called INTAB. Up to now, we first made the include stdios to tell the computer what function, predefined function there are in the file. The int main starts the program and tells us when to end. After that is this called intab. This is variable describing section. In this intb you are saying this int is known as a data type and this ab is known as a variable. Let us understand what a variable and a data type is. Variable is like a box, a container that can store a value. So it is like a box. Imagine it like a storage space. And the data types tells what type of value the box can store. So variable is the box and the data type is like a sticky note that tells computer what type of box it is. For example, you can see different box. In one it can store apple, in another it can store peaches, another it can store oranges. The box is a variable and the sticker that tells the computer what type of fruit it can store is a data types. And there are different data types. You must have used the number, that is integers, decimals 0 0.2, 0 0.3, letters like hello, hi. These are some of the data types mostly used. And in this data type, integer is denoted as int, decimal is denoted by float, letter is denoted by char. We use this shortcut method in computer so that not it is easier and it doesn't really take more space. So remember this: integer is denoted by int, decimal is denoted by float, and letter is denoted by char. So in conclusion, the int is a data type that tells the computer that tells the computer the a and the b can store the value of an integer. So when I write int a or int b, we are telling the computer this a variable. So a variable can store the value integer. If you write for example float, we are telling the computer a can store value float. So when I say float a, we are telling the computer a can store a decimal value. Float is a decimal value. Char gives an character. Whatever we write after these short number like char, float, and int, let's write a random number son. This becomes a variable. Variable, it becomes a box where we can store stuff, and this stuff that is in front tells what type of things it can store. A box of fruit cannot store a box of metals. So that is the big part. I hope you understand what these data type are. In here we have written intab. We are describing that a and b can hold the value of integer. Now up to now we have just tell the computer what are these stuff, what to do. Rather than jumping to the fourth line, I want you to look at this line we have marked in blue. Percentage d, percentage d. What is this thing? This percentage d is very closely related to this int ab. Let's understand how. The percentage d, which is really close to data types, is known as a format specifiers. For integers we have percentage d, For float, we have %f. For character, %c. The integer is denoted by this. So when we write int ab, int integer, it tells a and b. So in int ab, it tells the computer that a and b can hold the value integer. As we have said, int ab can hold the int ab tells the computer that ab can hold the value of an integer. But the %d, the format specifier, it tells the computer there is integer in my place. It INT just tells the computer what it holds. The percentage helps us to display it on the screen. It tells computer whatever data needs to be in there, as it acts as a placeholder. In here you can see there is int. We have used int. For int, as we have discussed, we use %d. So when we write %d in scanf or printf, it tells the computer to expect an integer in my place. So in scanf, we are telling the computer expect an integer. If there was %f, it is telling the computer to expect a float. So, in summary of these format specifier, it is closely related to the data types. Percentage d is denoted by int. For float, it is %f. For characters, letters, it is %c. They are used for displaying and accepting data. It tells the computer what data to expect in its place. So it acts as a placeholder. In %d, it tells computer to expect an integer. %f tells to expect a floating decimal, and %c and %s tells to expect an word or a sentence in its place. Now, I hope you understand what format specifier is. Now let's go to the printf and the scanf part. Now let us understand the last line, scanf and printf. The scanf and printf is used for input and output. Well, we all have heard the input and output in the first line, as the scanf and the printf are the predefined function of stdio.h. So to use the scanf and printf, we must include the header file include stdio.h. In the scanf and printf is used for the output. It is used to show what we see in the screen, whereas the scanf is used to get entry from the user. So in here, printf is used to enter a number, get a number. Scanf is to read the number entered by the user. I hope you understand the basic structure of this programming language. I tried to best to explain it myself. I'm lacking in my own ways. Before going, let us give a summary and do a programming language step by step, so we understand how programming language really work, and we will also learn about some terms like this last line, full stop. Now we have just finished learning all these lines that we see in here. We learn what is include stdios, we learn what is int main, what is int ab, printf, scanf, then return 0. Now let's learn about some of the symbol we have used in here, like %, this line like semicolon. What are these things? Do they even have any part to play? Well, they do. Let's understand these symbols. First of all, the semicolon, a very important one. Take the semicolon similar to a full stop. It's like a full stop, just like how we end the sentence in our word, we use the semicolon to end a code line. So for example, let's say I write, my name is Ross, I am bored. Without the full stop, we don't know when the sentence ends. But with the full stop, we know that the sentence ends at my name is Ross. Similarly, we don't know when the code ends. If, for example, in let's say I write printf and scanf. If I don't write the semicolon, the computer doesn't know when the code ends, and it treats printf and scanf as whole, which will give us an error. So what semicolon does is it tells the computer when the code ends. We write, let's for example, I write semicolon after printf. Computer reads this line and sees the semicolon and tells, oh, the code has ended at here. It doesn't mean whole entire the code has ended. It just means the code line we have written has ended. So semicolon is like a full stop, and it is very necessary. In coding, semicolon is very necessary. You can find it everywhere. So in int ab, to tell the computer it has ended, the code has ended here, line has ended here, we write the semicolon. In printf we have used that, in scanf we have used that, in return 0 we have used the semicolon. You must remember semicolon acts as an full stop and ends the code line. It is used everywhere except the int main you see here. Why is that, you may ask? Well, int main is, as we have discussed, is the start of the program. It tells the computer where the program starts, when to end. If you write full stop at the start, it is telling the computer the code has ended. Imagine writing the heading, for example, hero of the earth, and writing full stop at the topic. It's like telling that's it, that's my essay. So we must never write semicolon after int main, and in decision like while loop, do while loop, and if else we don't use semicolon at that, but other we do use it. Then comes stuff like ampersand and double ampersand, signs, greater, equal to. These are all the symbols we need to understand in the C. There are much more that we need to understand, which we will at the later state, but let's understand the very basic one. First of all is this N1. It is telling computer address. Previously we used it with %d. %d tells the computer what data type to expect in its place, and n% tells the computer what where the variable is and whatever data it can where the data is, and to store the value in a. The single operation is an address, whereas if we use double ampersand, it is not an address. Ampersand, double ampersand is basically and. So for example, I want to say a and b is not equal to c. I will write a and b not equal to c. So this double ampersand is used for saying a and b, saying 1 and 2. So it is and. Similarly, let's understand about this is equal to sign. At first we think to tell a is equal to b, we just write it's equal to sign, but that is not correct. Just like how ampersand has a different meaning when there are double and a single, where a single means address and double means and. Similarly, when there is a single equal to sign, this is the computer in here, it doesn't mean a is equal to b. When you write a single equal to b, it is in a computer to take the value of b and give it to a. If you want to say a is equal to b, we have to write double equal to. To say 2 is equal to 2, we have to write double is equal to sign. I hope you understand this symbol. Now let's us code a simple way. Let's just find odd of, let us find if a number is odd or even. First of all, what we need to do is add a header file. If there is a complex math calculation we are doing, math coding we are doing, we write just math.h. If there are characters of, we write cat c. There are many heading that we'll read later on, but as we are taking input and giving a output, we need the main important one include the stdio.h, in which this header will give us the input and output, printf and scanf. After that, we open the program with int main. If there is int main, we must expect to return an integer, so we write return 0. It start with the curly bracket, so program have started from here. First of all, we need a number to ask with user. So first of all, we write printf enter number. Is that correct? Obviously no. After int main, we have to first of all describe a variable. So if it was, as it is an integer, I will write int and anything a b c. Remember, the word that is after int is just a word. It is a int is sign a variable to the word, so remember that when coding. So let's say I write int a. So in here it is telling that the a can store the value of an integer. A is a variable, and this variable a can store the value of an integer. Semicolon to tell the computer the code line is up to here. Then after we tell that, we start coding. After that one, we tell the user, we tell the people to enter the number. To enter the number, we first have to display it in the screen with the text to tell the customer to enter the numbers. We have to tell enter number. After user sees this enter a number, only then user types. To read what user have typed, we use scanf. As it is an integer, we use percentage %d, and then we close it with this double comma. Double comma tells the computer to print what to print. So what to read and what to print. Whatever is inside this double comma is printed and scanned. So whatever you write outside this bracket is not considered printed or scanned. So after percentage %d, it is telling us that to expect an integer instead of me. Then after that, after we tell the computer to expect the integer in its place, we tell the computer from where the integer comes. Integer comes from a, so address of a. Up to here, we are telling the computer to open the program, to describe a variable, to tell the user to enter a number, then asking the computer to read the number the user have typed and tell what type of data it is and where to store. The address is used to tell where to store. After scanning, and computer reads what type of number it is and where it is stored, we can end the program here. What will happen is it will show enter a program as we have just written here, enter a number. Then after we enter the number, the program ends. Nothing after that. But if you want to print the number that we have written, we say print f. After printf, we to print the number we can do is this is your number or number. To print the number you have printed, just like how we use %d to tell the computer that what type of data type to expect in its place, we also write %d to tell the computer what type of data type to expect in its place. And after that, just like scanf, we write the variable where the data is stored. But rather than writing the %, to give the address, we just write a. We don't need address of a in printf, as we just have to print. We don't have to read from the address, we just have to print the value of the a, so there is no need of %, in printf. After what will be displayed after that, we'll write return 0. Reason 0 tells us to expect, and 0 at the line, it returns the 0. So as int tells to expect 0 at the end, it reads one line at a time, and if it goes up to last line, it is proven that the code is right and the code will be executed. At last, we close the curly bracket to tell the computer the program has ended. Now what will be the result? First, this display will be there, enter a number. Now let's say I type 2. After we type the 2, the scanf reads this 2. As it is integer, %d is used, it reads the 2. Then to display, we write this is number. This is the number you type. But as we have written number, the number will be there. But rather than what we %d, what we see, as we have said %d at x and placeholder, so instead of %d you will see the value 2. It tells the computer what type of value to expect and where to expect. So %d at x and placeholder, we see we see number 2 in the screen. The %d acts and placeholder, and a tells what data to put in %d. I hope you understand the very basic or block element of programming. There is more to learn, and I'm still learning with you. Next time we'll learn about if else statement, conditional and loops. I hope you understand. Bye bye, see you in next video. Bye bye.